Welcome to intx, where we have career conversations in tech. Today is episode 11, and we have up startup entrepreneur and people analytics leader Marianna Simonian. Marianna is currently spinning a lot of plates, which is a topic we'll get into. But amongst them, our main focus at present is country manager for tech and startups at Seed Group and head of HR for startups at the Higher School of Economics, positions that she has gained through a depth of startup experience beginning at university. So, here at Intex, we start the podcast from as is early as is relevant to you in regards to a career in technology, whether that's university or a childhood story. So I'll let you begin from as early as is relevant.
Thank you, Luke. Yes, exactly. I'm here today to talk about all of the path, all of the struggles, all of the lessons, everything, mm, everything that brought me to the point B, I would say, from the point A.
Exactly. Yeah, and so where will we start from that? Is university a good place to start?
Yeah, yeah. Let's start from university. I'm joining the university class of studying economics. And then I'm thinking like, who can I be? Who am I? What is my first job? What is my first internship? And then, all of the dreams are not meeting by the reality. So I decided that I wanted to become an editor and I wanted to pursue a career in a magazine. And I was
Mm-hmm.
completely rejected in all of that. I was rejected and I felt desperate. And then happened two fantastic things with me. Actually, they happened because I was persistent enough, I would say. The first thing, I became a Cosmo agent in Cosmopolitan magazine. I actually became one of the most ambitious girls by Cosmopolitan, and I
Mm-hmm.
had, I would say, a role of an ambassador. So I was a role model. I was a leader of female group, and I conducted some events and such things. So it was the point when all I wanted to have some internship. Okay, I'm a student, and then suddenly I become the leader of the uh, women group, women empowerment, and then also this experience gave me confidence. And then what I'm making back to then, I'm creating my own media. So I
Right.
become an entrepreneur. Yeah. Um, yeah. Like, it's when you do something, you just do. You don't think how hard it is. Like, is it for
Mm-hmm.
you? Can you do that? Can you handle all of that? You just simply do that. That was like me.
Yeah. And so then was creating that media born, I just saying, out of frustration and rejection. So you're like, screw having to get a pass from these people. I'll just make it myself.
Yeah, I mean, it came very natural for me to find people who was like-minded, who was
Mm-hmm.
interested to make all of that. And actually, my brother, he's an engineer, and he helped me with technical side. So he was
Right.
my co-founder. We have
Yeah.
to be,
Right.
we have to be honest here. He helped me with technical side. He was my co-founder. Then he left the project, but still he really helped me. And I have the concept of the media was that any reader can become its author, and it was back to those times when Instagram launched. So it
Mm.
was the boom of content creation, I would say. And it was really like something that was relevant back to those times. And so we had like 500 remote authors, 10 of group of 10, like for editorial group. And my backup, my brother is as a co-founder, technical,
Mm-hmm.
covering technical side.
And so was that your first exposure to anything technical and startup?
I was brought up in, I would say that I love math. I mean, I never was a technical type of child, but it was something. Yeah, I would say the first experience. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then did that give you a taste of it to want to go into the startup world?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, when I created all of that, I didn't know about startups at all. Like, I didn't know even the
Hmm.
word startup.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I just created something and I didn't thought from the terminology of startups or entrepreneurship, none of that. Just I
Hmm.
wanted to do that and I did that. It was my own challenge, something that was too much of energy out of me that I tried to do something with that.
Yeah. No, that's a nice way to hear that story because I think it's all too common nowadays for people to be like, I want to be a startup founder. Well, what does that even mean? It's like you have no idea. Whereas you've found it through this avenue of I want to do something, I can't get in, so
Yeah.
fine, I'll just make my own one. And so you found it in this roundabout way, which gives you a unique perspective going in. Did you find that your perspective of the startup space was different to co-founders and other startups that you were kind of interacting with?
Oh, it's a good question because then my career shifted by one startup, another startup, third startup. I mean, I had a completely startup experience and I feel different. Yeah, I mean, I feel completely, and I'm in the environment of startups still now. So, like, I saw many, many, many startups, founders, and all of that.
Hmm.
Um, for me, startup is something natural, and it's something you have to learn not by metrics, but also intuitively, knowing how to act, knowing what. It's something intuitively for me. I think it's a natural way of doing business. It's a new model of doing business. It's quite deep for me. I mean, I understand. I feel it different. I feel different. It's not that maybe there is something that I can convert to words, honestly saying.
Right. Is it kind of then like the startup world is, so as you say, it's not like you take a course and you're like, cool, I'm a startup founder now. It's more so that you gain these experiences to refine this formula, which is your brain and how you take in information and then do something with it.
Yeah, exactly. Like I
Yeah.
never thought, but you explained that exactly the right way.
Well, yeah, I've been thinking about it recently with regards to, when people become like directors and things like that, and you pay for the experience, but like, what does that mean? And it's kind of that when you pay for an experience, it's almost like every thought that goes through your brain's just like a massive mathematical formula,
Yeah,
or like a machine learning model. And every time you gain experiences, you learn. And then, when you pay for experience, you're paying for this refined model, which is the person's brain, which I think is
really.
a cool way to look at it.
It's fantastic. I never heard such concept, I would say. I love that.
Yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah.
thanks. I spend too much time thinking about these things. Um, but so then your startup, the first startup that you went to after your editorial one, is this uh, Ansney? Is it
Yeah.
straight out of
So I
uni?
Yeah, Austin is one of the also very important startups in my life,
Hmm.
in my career. Uh, After some attempts to grow my own startup, and at those times I graduated university, so I faced the reality of not being a student, and I understood that I just simply cannot grow the startup to a big media, you know. And
Mm.
then I started my own career, and the project Ansney is actually one of the projects where I grew a lot. I would say. Actually, it's an interesting project. It exists today, and it's about finding a personal bodyguard around the world within 2 days.
Personal
So it's not
bodyguard.
about media. Yeah, bodyguards. personal
Right.
securities, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like doing all of this project, knowing the world of security,
Mhm.
and knowing the people who worked there for like many, many years, spending the whole life for the security issues.
Mhm.
Um, and at the beginning, it was perfect. I mean, everything was perfect, the team and the project. And then I think it's not related to the project itself. I think it's related to me and my personal growth because always we have our own path, our inner life, I would say, and it always resonates with our career. And suddenly, I started doing yoga a lot and I started being more alone person, being closer and closer to only to myself. And then I suddenly realized that all I'm doing is one project called Ansney. And then I stopped all of my other projects, like my
Mhm.
media, I almost shut down that. And it was the moment of self discovery, I would say, and the moment of, it was not the moment like just a moment, it was a period. And those times I felt alone. But now
Mhm.
back, I will see that it was a great time when I was reinventing myself.
Yeah.
So I can talk a lot like more about that experience because it was deep, it was interesting. But I think that looking from that from now, I think it was good, beautiful, and great. But
Mhm.
those times, it was not like that.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's it, isn't it? It's like even as we were saying before with running a marathon or something, is you look back and you're like, it was such a beautiful experience. But in the heat of the moment, you're not running thinking, this is amazing. I love this
Yeah.
feeling. But it's necessary for that personal development. So what do you think was the catalyst or the reason for you to kind of go into this uh, transformation?
I think the desire of growth, because I
Mm.
think in professional life, actually all we want is growth. I mean, it's not about changing the role and the title or having more money. Of course, it's great, but the desire of growth inside of us, we want to grow. We need that. We need some challenges, and if we don't see them outside, sometimes we see too much growth, like not growth, challenge outside. Sometimes we can't handle that.
Mm.
And it was the time when I wanted to understand who am I, what I want, what is good for me, what is bad for me. And then I think it should be like much early in my life because until we don't know like what we want, who we are, it's hard to be sure on what is good for us sometimes. Even when we can't be sure for 100%, never, but still sometimes we have to be connected with ourselves to make some choices.
Yeah, definitely. And do you think it's something that happens to people when they are a couple of years out of university? From your experience, like this, they realize that the person that they were or mask they wore even at university kind of has to fall off because you're now in the real world. You need to make money. You've got responsibilities, and so they start to have this high level of introspection.
It's a good question because I'm actually tutoring students at university. I'm telling them
Mhm.
different things now. And the main thing I'm advising them is just you are a student. This is the best time to do anything to try, just to make as much experiments as you can to get
Mhm.
with the purpose to knowing yourself better.
Yep.
Just all you have to do is just to try that, not to feel that you have to win every chance, but that you
Mhm.
have to understand yourself better and better to know, so that The next step of your life will be knowing, at least knowing better some of the things about yourself.
Yeah, definitely, because it's a time when you do have, as busy as uni is, you do have a lot of downtime and a lot of time which you can spend experimenting without the possible kind of drawbacks, responsibilities that
Yeah.
you get is when you leave. And it's funny you mention that. I was actually talking to Davide in my last podcast, and we talked about that same thing of during uni, you have to continually experiment. You want to try a startup, try it. You want to try this, try it. Because as soon as you come out of uni, it's just a whole different kind of set of rules to the game. It's not as you have to work harder to create that community around you to be able to maintain that same level of freedom that you get in uni just by virtue of being there.
Yeah. I would like to add here that I actually tried a lot. I mean, I was part of different projects, unspoken ones. Like I was intern in different projects and so on and so on. And I think there is a limit when you stop. Like you really you don't want to try that much after
Hmm.
some period, and then you have some level of certainty that sometimes it's just simply about pushing that forward, not thinking about is it yours or not. You just have to go till the end. And until you didn't try enough, you don't know exactly, you don't feel that much. If this is something you have to push or this is something you have to change.
Yeah, yeah. And so in that period of time, then you were saying like yoga and things like that. Was that your main focus during that time? Like say yoga and Anthony.
I just narrowed myself to the one project,
Hmm.
and and it was not good. Exactly why it was not good, because knowing myself now understanding myself, understanding where I feel happy and good in my professional life, I simply know that for me it's okay to run a few projects. For me it's okay to be everywhere at once. Just for me it's okay.
Hmm.
And when I tried to behave like someone else, I tried to change my preferences, I felt really not so good.
Could you think as to why it was? Is it that there's a single point of kind of pressure that you can't grow in a variety of ways, that it's always just the same direction or something like that?
It's hard to say, like, in a few words, to give some explanations or something. From my perspective, in my personal life, it just happened that way. It's not that
Mm.
I seated and thought, like, okay, next 2 years I will do this. Next 3 years I will do this. It just happened, and then also happened different type of events around me that also affected me to go through this experience.
Hmm.
So it felt like these experiences are happening with me rather than I'm choosing consciously, okay? Choosing consciously that.
Right. No, I understand. And so then at the end of that, you move on from Anthony. What happens next? Where do you go?
Actually, it's the moment where magic happens in my life, I would say,
Hmm.
because I spent an out day and I said I narrowed myself. I just tried to do only one thing, only one project, because usually that's how people work. Um, and then I felt desperate. At some moment, I understand that something is wrong. I didn't know exactly what, but I
Hmm.
felt that I'm simply not feeling good. And then I decided to change something, and I decided that I will continue my education because I had my bachelor degree, And then almost 3 years, I spent time on startups, so I didn't have a master background. And then I decided that I will do a master, I will do something else, I will do something else, but not the same what it was in my life. I just simply decided to change something. And then I suddenly joined the startup called Eva, and I joined this team. I was part of the core team, and I was like doing different types of things, from marketing to some assisting team members with some tasks. And also at the same moment, I applied my documents to the university. And what Eva did is people analytics platform backed up with artificial intelligence, so helping HR to go through its transformation. So then it happens that I joined the master program, actually called HR Analytics. And it all happened like a coincidence in my life. Okay. So, but this all happens because I spent some time in Ansney and I go deep inside myself. And then I was able to understand that I don't want to, I need to change something. And this
Hmm.
desire for change brought me to a point where I could never imagine I will change my profession suddenly.
Yeah. What was it exactly you were doing in Anthony? I imagine it wasn't people analytics.
In Amsterdam, I joined as a marketing associate in a startup. Okay, for startups, and then I grew for the business partner because
Hmm.
I had experience of founding a startup. So for me, it was really easy to manage all of that. I was like an octopus, I would say. I did everything at once. Great. So I started doing different things. I just did everything from onboarding employees and working with top managers because usually bodyguards are for those who need some security.
Yeah. Right. And so then when you've come out of Anthony and moved into Eva, did you make a conscious decision that you wanted to go to the specific role at Eva?
That's a good question because we are talking about my possibility to do different things at once. So at
Hmm.
the point when I entered Eva, I already was a person who can do this and this and this and this, too many things, maybe not perfect, all of them. But then the question was, so, okay, what I'm going to do with that? So what is next? Like, who am I?
Hmm.
And for me, it was like, more like I didn't really care what I'm going to do next, but I knew that I want to do something technological. I want to work with people who is involved in tech. So this was the most important thing for me because I accepted myself. I accepted my experience. It was a complete acceptance. And then when happened, like when I started knowing people analytics, it was a fantastic journey for me because it's really very interesting. And doing that now, I never get bored of that.
What advice would you give to someone who is looking at making a move in their career and they have a variety of skills and they're not sure which to go with? How would you advise them?
uh, yeah, I can give a concrete advice. You will be surprised, maybe in all of these things, because what I did those times and what really helped me, thanks to my colleague who recommended me this book, it was a book called "What Color of Your Parachute." Actually,
Right.
it's a popular book, yeah, written by
Hmm.
the famous career coach. I suppose he's maybe one of the famous ones in United States. And this book is about finding yourself no matter what you are doing. Like it gives tons of exercises. And when I completed the book, I understood that I created the new path for myself already.
Hmm.
So this book helped me to reevaluate myself unconsciously and create a new understanding of what where I can be also good, where I can help people, what type of professions I can do, and so on and so on. And so there should be some point using this book or some other book or some other things. Maybe you don't need to do anything specific, only you have some time alone, but you have to revelate yourself and your experience. You have to stop before you do next move. You have to stop. uh, for someone it should be like for 1 hour, for someone it can be 1 month, but you have to go deeply inside yourself and understand. Actually, you can use, as I said, different things. You can use books, some exercises, maybe only watching this video, but you really have to understand yourself, just to have the honest conversation with yourself, not judging yourself, your experience, and being open for something new, and understanding also that any choice you will make in career as well, or for example, will you stay as will you be people analytics professional or something else? There will be its own pros and cons. So you have to accept it fully.
Hmm. And so when
Maybe,
you sorry, go on.
maybe it sounds like too general, but
No, but it is good advice that I think people often, because I think the question can be seen almost as a loaded question, is that people are kind of like, so how do I find the answer? What is the answer? Tell me the exact profession that I should do.
yeah,
But you're right, oftentimes it's people that need to just stop. Because I do often, I'll have like what I call a strategic meeting with myself where I have to be like, right, the
great.
company of look, what's the strategy going forward?
Oh my god, that's fantastic. Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Yeah, because you need to, because otherwise it's like you become too mechanical. You think to yourself, right, where's a survey online? Where can I tick? I'm good at this. I'm bad at this. I'm good at this, and then give me a profession. But you shouldn't be outsourcing things like that. You need to have the deep conversation with yourself as to what are you good at, and also what do you want to do. Because I think if you spend too much time trying to figure out just like what you're good at, that doesn't necessarily mean that, not to sound cliche, but that it's going to make you happy. You need to find
Mm.
that middle ground, as you're saying. All the pros come with cons as well, and it's what's the balancing act that you want to do. And so for you, when you had done that, did you then come out of your strategic meeting with yourself thinking people HR analytics?
Yeah,
Yeah.
completely. Yeah.
How did you first get exposed to that then? Like, what was the traits that you had seen in yourself which made you think you'd be good for that role, or that role would be good for you?
Exactly. Fantastic things. It's just I was in a situation when I was part of the fast growing startup who did things that no one really did before.
Hmm.
So, and also I was part of an educational 2 years master program. And this combination gave me a fast opportunity to understand things and people analytics that no one really understand. And I think it was like going, you know how I feel about that? It's like I'm going not forward to the time, but um, going back. Like I understand that I'm good at that, and because of my personal traits and my experience, only now when I started, I didn't even understand that.
Hmm. Yeah, it's not until you're at the destination that then all the turns that you took made sense.
Yes,
Yeah, for sure.
yes,
And so,
yeah.
and so then at data analytics, your first role, How did you find that, whilst also balancing a master's?
Yeah, it was stressful, I would be honest. It was
Mm.
not a smooth experience. It was stressful because I have to learn a lot. I have to learn a lot and I have to face some difficulties, let's say in
Mm-hmm.
general. And it's still hard. I'm still in the process of gaining lots of knowledge still. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a continued process for me. Changing the main profession and learning everything in 1 year, I think it's not just the way it can work. You always learn, and it's just the acceptance from yourself to go by that way, to not stop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you need to be, what is it they say, relentless in the pursuit of greatness.
Yeah, and this is the thing. As long as I've tried different things, I know that even there is also some things that is maybe not so perfect, but I know it's great enough for me.
Yeah, yeah, because that's it. It's not necessarily about finding the perfect job, but one that is good for
Yeah.
you. And so during that time, then for your people analytics, had you tried and disliked anything else? Like, had you had a short course in something and not enjoyed it, or were you just did you just hit the green light?
With Ansney, I mean, I just stopped the project and I
Hmm.
talked with my colleague that I'm going through this new experience. And it was the time um, when it was relevant, I would say. I didn't left the project like itself. It just came to the point when it was quite okay.
Hmm.
And
Yeah, so that's what I mean. I mean, did you try anything else, or did you just go uh, Anstey and then leave that straight into analytics, and then it's been smooth since then?
that's the most interesting thing because I tried to try different things.
Hmm.
I mean, there were some possibilities. It's like when you apply and you don't get a feedback, you didn't accept it, you didn't. So, from my perspective, I did different steps. Like I tried to be part of different other projects. And then
Hmm.
I got accepted into this one.
Hmm.
And here's where started all of the things. I think it's about the understanding that what's not happening with us is also for us.
Yeah, yeah. The doors the doors that are shut. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's guiding you towards the door that's open.
Yeah. Because
Very philosophical.
I knocked different doors as well. And I'm grateful that maybe there was different experience, but still I'm grateful.
Yeah. No, that's good. Very
Yeah.
philosophical way of looking at it. It's good. Um, and so when you then move into that, what other positions do you take up at the time? Because you said you narrowed for Anstey, and then now you're kind of widening the activities that you're doing. Did you pick
Yeah.
up anything else?
Yeah, it's a moment when I realized that narrowing is not the option for me. And then I'm
Hmm.
still trying to understand how much I can be not narrowed, so to say, because at some moment I did like, I worked, I did my startup, I worked as a chart analyst, and then I was a tutor at university teaching students how they can create a startup. And then
Hmm.
there came two things. First thing is that all of the knowledge they actually helped me all along. So it's not about completely different things like startups and analytics. Really, startup knowledge helped me a lot to implement different projects in HR analytics, to have cool solutions. And then also, I came to another point when I understood that I have to combine all of this knowledge. to one thing. And this is where my new startup was born,
Hmm.
a platform for collaborative analytics.
Right. And so your people analytics roles, were they like consulting type roles? Or were you creating a specific
Mm,
platform?
I worked in big companies, let's say so,
Hmm.
but as long as my role is super specific, and usually in the company you will find maybe two, three people analytics professionals, I behaved like I am a consultant. I mean, I didn't. I set my own rules.
Hmm.
Um, I didn't show off in the office every day, I would say, but not because I was doing something bad. Because the role didn't need you so much communications with people.
So what kind of specific skills and traits then do you think would suit someone for the role of or within people analytics?
People analytics is, I think, the first thing I would say is communications. People analytics is about helping HR function to go through automation process. And it's a very painful thing because we are talking about automation of HR a lot, and still I see that what we are saying and what is happening really inside the company is completely different things. And it's painful, it's hard, and it takes time. And the first thing is communications, because these persons are going to be a pioneer, going with lots of cross functional communications and tasks and implementations. So you have to find um, the common ground with everyone, because you need different types of people to make that. Then it's of course understanding of people function. I would say people function not only from the perspective of knowing the strict HR knowledge, but understanding the future of work. Because we are not moving back. What we are creating is something for the future. For example, we need to really understand if we want to work 4 days on a week, is it really good or not from the different angles? Then I think this person needs to have a different type of experience, not only strict HR experience. And then I will be short. Of course, you have to know data work. It's Excel, it's Python, SQL, and you have to know how to work with data
So it sounds like it's quite a strategic role. Would that be right?
completely. Yeah,
Hmm.
because you have to. In ideally, I would not say that it works like that yet, but ideally, this person needs to advise the management, knowing the data and some other type of things, to give advice to the management of the company what's next.
Mm. And so, do you think that's where it would work well that your experience from startup world and having to think strategically within there, that mindset translates well to a role in people
Yeah.
analytics?
Yeah, you helped me to understand that now. It's true because working in a startup, you have to think about what's next, what's like. You always work with how to say, you don't know what's next. Like
Hmm.
it's not predictable. It's same with HR analytics, completely the same. You said it
Hmm.
perfect.
Thank you. Too kind, Marianne. Um, and so then I think that moves in well to something which you had mentioned before about giving up on perfection. Because often to make strategic decisions, you have to remove and it's the same actually as you were saying with regards to next career steps. Is you need to remove the possibility of a perfect or a perfect option. And so, could you touch more on that? But giving up on
Yeah,
perfection.
it's a good question because when I become people analytics professional, I mean specialist, There were people who worked in this field much longer than I did. And then you're working in the same level.
Mm.
And then you are not perfect at all, but you are there. And also doing different types of things at once. As I said, I do different things. And from one side, it helps me, but sometimes you understand that um, you want to spend more time on some things. And this is where I would say you have to give up on perfectionism. But I will also add that giving up on perfectionism in the moment doesn't mean you are not, you are closing the way of making something perfect at all. Because what I mean deeply is that, which is really the system of agile system. I think it's the same and we can apply this system in our career. When you create a software, you use agile system because you face some challenge, problem, then you fix that, and then again you're at the same point with fixed, and you have this problem fixed. Okay, so then you go next, and then you make different circles, and you are all moving towards making it happen as perfect as you see that. It's the same with our career. In the moment, it cannot be perfect. You don't need to do everything perfect at once. But you are making attempts and attempts. You are making it better and better. You are learning, you are improving, and generally, it's more the agile way of being.
Mhm. And do you think for sorry, go on.
I mean, it's not the strict line where you are going and becoming simply better and perfect. It's an ongoing process in everything. You have to improve
Hmm.
everything continually.
Yeah, definitely. It's like a continuous development mindset. Do you think for that as well you have to look at failure differently to really exercise giving up on perfection?
Completely. You know, all of my startup experience taught me fantastic thing of the attitude towards failure. Because if I stopped when I failed, we will not talk today.
Mhm.
I failed many times, and I love all of these quotes like um, a winner is a failure who never give up. I simply love them because it's all about that.
Mhm.
You have to you have to go, keep going.
Yeah, exactly. And it's good to bring it back again to like a sporting analogy because it's kind of how I look at the world. But it's the same thing with that when people do, these crazy ultra marathons. They always feel like failing and dropping out. Apparently, there's like some statistic that almost every single person who wins an ultra marathon wanted to drop out at some point. And
Yeah,
so, even if you need to walk or whatever it is and sit down, have a rest, it's about keeping going and just not stopping. Because it's definitely something which that's why I wanted to bring it up because the giving up on perfectionism hit me really hard because I've always been bad at being like a kind of artist at heart. Like I'll have 100 videos I'll have edited, websites made, like designs or whatever, and I'll never execute on them because it's like they're for what I want, they're like an 8 out of 10. And I don't want to put the not 10 out of 10 out there. But then you realise, especially as time goes on, that you're kind of wasting time by not gaining any experience because you're not putting it out there into the world to then reiterate and make a V2, V3. And it's as I was saying about like the kind of setup here with the mic and stuff, it's I'm trying to incrementally get better instead of saying to myself, I'm never going to do a podcast until I'm brilliant. You're like, well, how are you going to get brilliant if you never do one?
exactly. Imagine if you think that way, we will never talk.
Hmm. Exactly. And that's it. Is even now I'm realizing just how beneficial it is to screw perfection and just take action. You know, it says there was a quote from Elon Musk talking about it of everyone has great ideas, But great ideas don't make great companies. Great execution makes great companies.
Yes.
And it, changed my perspective quite a bit. But and
Yeah.
that's what's cool about your story from the beginning is that you were just executing, taking action. You're like, right, that's not working. I'm going to make my own then. Instead
Yeah.
of thinking, how can I make the perfect one? And I'll spend years designing it.
Yeah, I had even a conversation with one of my colleagues, and he said, "Hey, Mariana, I'm thinking about the next move, and you already did a few ones." So
Exactly. That is a really good way to put it, actually, because especially with life, it's not this zero sum game like chess where you've made too many moves too fast. That's you. End of the game. It's like life's kind of it's less. It's more about like how many moves you can make, especially at the beginning. Um, because they say that, don't they? But like the higher up you get, the less decisions you need to make, but the more strategic they need to be. Have you noticed that in your experience within startups that you had to take more action at the beginning and more thinking later on?
I can say because I made so much actions, sometimes too much. Back then, I had to stop and think a little bit about strategically because now I think that's why I become a tutor at university. I felt
Mm.
so much. I made so much action, so I learned everything. So now I'm teaching students how exactly they can do that.
Yeah. And so, what do you think the best piece of advice for students is from the experience you've had, or top three? What's the top three pieces of advice?
Never give up.
Mm.
Never, never stop exploring because the whole life is the process of exploration. And
Hmm.
love your failures even more than your success because they are the ground of your greatest things.
Yeah, absolutely. As they say that, don't they? You don't learn from success; you learn from failure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, we just sound like a motivational Pinterest board at this
Yes.
point.
I never thought it would turn out like that.
I know, me neither. um, so, after your data analysis, you have then now moved into seed and impactor, and now you're looking at like kind of company valuations and things like that. How did that shift come about?
It shifts greatly because it's moved me to another level. And I would say about Impact Love is that I'm the head of female entrepreneurship, and it's not that it just happened with me. I'm really into women in tech, and I started about the story of Cosmopolitan Girl Power, and I continue to support women. It just happened not because I have to do that. I just love to do that. I feel the need, and I feel that it's really important. Specifically, I support women in tech, and with Impact Lab, my key understanding is to find and support females with doing different projects, female startup founders, finding those talents. And this is more the social part of the role. I would say it's about support on a more broad level for me personally. As for the seed group, it's also about working with startups and with the seed group, I have a specific role that I make analytics and research and found those companies who want to enter MENA region with the starting point of Dubai. So Dubai has a vision for the 2030 to become one of the most technological places and sustainability places in the world. So my main key is to find those projects who is really ready to be part of this agenda. So this is the combination of analytics, communications, and startups. So it's really interesting to see how our experience can finally be into something one.
Hmm. Yeah, it's everything coming together, and that's what's quite cool about like reading through your LinkedIn experiences. It's went through this journey of trying startups, like different things, getting a professional basis within data analytics, and then now bringing those two things together in that strategic perspective to look at valuing companies and how you look at them. What's been your biggest surprise at working within Seed?
Surprise.
Yeah, or like,
Well, my role is a lot about communication with the founders.
mm,
And the surprise for me was, first of all, that I'm actually, from my own perspective, my own career, that suddenly I'm in the point where I see I'm exactly perfectly fit from this type of competences. Another thing is that fantastic ecosystem of Dubai and the opportunity and how fast the region can grow, and understanding deeply that we as human beings were able to create really fantastic things through technology, and our possibility are much bigger than we even understand now, because mostly in most countries the technological side is not working to the fullest, let's say. And I understand that. I'm really excited to see what's going to be in the next years, because if we push forward this technological side, we can see, like, we never had um, iPhones and all of this stuff. A few years. I mean, I didn't grow up with iPhone, and we don't know what's going next. But the understanding is tremendous. Things can happen, and for me, this is really mind shifting thing.
yeah, to think of just
It's
how
also
fast this
about,
can all change.
yeah,
Definitely, because you even notice that, like, what you're saying with iPhone, something which is hitting everyone now is like online stuff, remote working. Like, it's funny to think when I went to university to study computer science, I had always thought to myself, and my grandmother, she would joke with me saying, like, I want to grow up to be have computer, will travel. Because I always pushed that agenda of like, why would I need to be in an office? I shouldn't have to be. Um, but it still was the norm. But then, yeah, as soon as like COVID hit and things like that, now it's everyone remote works. Uh, and that's such a shift culturally and technologically, how that impacts infrastructure and everything. So it's just crazy to think how fast that is, because now, like, for instance, this video call we're having right now, this is normal. This is another day. Whereas even 5 years ago, this would have been a Skype call, which you'd have had to go and find your old email address that you used for Skype. And like, it was not a normal thing to do.
yes, and we are witnessing this transformation. It's fantastic.
Hmm. Oh, yeah, for sure. I remember when I worked at my first job after uni, we got metaverse headsets, and oh, that was cool. Because
Yeah.
I always thought that it was I don't know the right word for it, but I thought people were kind of bigging up the metaverse to be better than it was, and then I had a shot and I was like, nah, this is cool. And so, do you focus on innovative technologies mainly? Is that what you're looking at?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Now, yes. Mhm.
yeah. um Do you? Is there any cool innovations that you could touch on or talk about?
The thing is, actually, regarding innovations, you hardly see something completely unique.
Yeah.
Usually, there are already a few players, and
Hmm.
the thing is more about who of them we will talk about being perfect here. will make it as good, as fantastic as you have never imagined. Because in the core, the ideas are not so hard to implement. It's more about competition. And
Hmm.
here we need to find some new Steve Jobs, let's say. Yes, someone who's been able to use this to the next to go this to the next level, and in the mass you will not see much of these projects. So usually all of the projects they are at least you know some other players and some stuff like that.
Yeah. And do you think that at your roots, having that knowledge at marketing has helped how you look at innovation?
Yeah, everything helping. I mean, everything is connected.
Hmm.
All of the knowledge in professional life is connected. I think sales and marketing connected. I think technology and mm, what else to say? Oh,
Yeah,
branding.
everything
Everything.
HR, marketing, sales,
Yeah.
tech, it always, it's just a
Yes.
web.
And when you go deep, you see those connections, and it's beautiful. And then it becomes not the understanding of the terms of HR in marketing and development, but it's much deeper. It becomes the understanding of one picture, components of one big picture.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's interesting you're touching on the competition because I think the public, quote unquote, the public, have a perception of innovation as like there's no innovation and then suddenly there's flying cars. Like that's the way they anticipate it. Um, but until a learning point for me was when cryptocurrency came out and it made me, or it became popular, and it made me then look back at the tech bubble and all that, the like www dot bubble, and it makes you then realize that, oh wait, yeah, of course some of these companies are going to succeed based on the technology, but you don't invest in the technology per se. You invest in the specific company that's going to drive it at the forefront, and that's the hard bit. Like it's not hard to say in 2001 the internet's going to take off, or to say blockchain technology is going to take off in like 2020, because it is, and it's inevitable. The hard part is finding how is it going to take off, by who is it going to take off, and
Yeah,
yeah, that's
exactly.
the impossible question.
It's exactly that way because in a startup world, for example, when I'm teaching students, we we are talking about the fact that is it about technology, the product, or is it about team? And everyone knows in a world of technology that the team members, the team itself, is much more important because it's all about who will be able to go to this finish line,
Hmm.
who will do that simply.
Yeah, you like that, that you invest in the people, not in the company per se.
Yeah.
And so when we're talking as well about bringing everything together, how have you found bringing this all together for your next project now?
Yeah, for my next project, my startup on collaborative analytics called BARD, I feel super excited because I'm also experiencing the moment when I can imply all of the knowledges and experiences in one place. And we are in the moment when we are creating our first MVP, the first version of
Hmm.
MVP. And I think in the next few months, I will speak about that on my LinkedIn. We'll make some
Cool.
posts. Yeah, because we made lots of customer developments. We found our product market fit. So we are a team of up to 10. So it's not only my work, and it's always a teamwork in everything. And at least I completely enjoy doing that. This is when it
Yeah,
starts. I completely enjoy all of that. And for me, it's really important.
brilliant. And do you think that you enjoy it quite a lot as well because you of course still be learning, but now you have a place to apply years of knowledge within industries and skills that you actually are passionate about.
Yeah. And in a startup world, also, it's a theory. It's not just my opinion. Founders who failed enough uh, are the ones who's supposed to be very good. Because if you failed like 2, 3 startups already, then you know exactly what's good and what's not working. So it's not only about the positive. And so now I feel that many maybe negative situations that we didn't actually spoke out so much, but that happened. And all of the times of loneliness, depression, failures, closed doors, projects that didn't rise up, opportunities that you were expected to happen didn't happen to you, and all of that happens for a reason. For
Mm-hmm.
you, it's just happening for you. It's all right. You just and
Yeah, it's,
not. I
it's
feel straight to to do something.
mhm. No, and it's as you said earlier, or as we were discussing earlier, that closed doors they'll just continually lead to the open door. And that's the thing with
Yes,
startups is that if you're the person who's willing to keep chapping and keep moving along, one of them's going to open. Just takes time, a matter of time.
yes,
But yeah,
true.
but I think that's a good place to finish on, unless you have anything else you want to touch on.
Yeah,
No, is that good?
kind of
Well, brilliant.
philosophical stuff.
Yeah, it was a philosophical conversation. Sorry, that's my favourite kind anyway. Veer away from the technology and towards philosophy.